Welcome to the Hasn't Been 3 Days podcast with your host Justin and BJ, and we talk about 3-day-old news, sports, and whatever else we seem to care about this week. You, the MVP listener, you listen in, you laugh, you hate on our takes and opinions, but just don't let us know about those unless it's been 3 days. So we're back for another week and another episode of the Hasn't Been 3 Days podcast. You know what's really cool, Justin? I'm going to ask you how you've been in just a minute, but I really think it's, when I get discouraged about the time that, you put in more time on the podcast than I do, but I get a note or I get a message or I have somebody stop me that says, you know what, I can't wait to hear you guys this week and what you're going to talk about. So I know people are listening, and I just want to say thank you to the MVP listener. Thank you to Justin for all he does to get it edited and put up there. But it's been another week and we're back at it. So how you been? What's going on?
Yeah, I'll add on to that. It is encouraging to hear people say that. And I still think I have a cool factor with my kids because they still ask me if I'm going to record one every week. So I think but only one of them listens. He's becoming our historian. Brenton listens I don't remember if I said this out loud on the episodes before, but he's becoming our historian. And literally you ask him and he's like, yeah, that was episode whatever. It was the one that somebody else was on. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then he's like, you need to do more interviews. So we're working on that. We got through wedding season. We're getting through some life seasons now that we'll probably talk about later in the show. But things are going good. The week was busy. Becky started some new rehab, outpatient instead of doing in-home rehab. So we are transitioning into getting her back and forth to rehabs, which is going well right now. So, and then Brenton, Bree. Well, let's start with Bree. Bree's still recovering for her injury. So she's supporting her team and watching from the sidelines, which she hates, but she's getting kudos from her coaches. They've really taken notice to it, and they keep on saying, we hate seeing you out here, but doesn't go unnoticed that you're sitting here in the cold and the winds. And when you don't need, they don't say you don't need to be, but for a school that's brand new, creating a culture, she's helping with that, and I think that's super important. And I know as a teenager, she's like, Dad, I just want to go home. And I'm like, no, just be there for everybody. And so it's kind of interesting. She said that two other girls are injured on the sidelines. And I said, well, do you think one of them would be there if you weren't already there? And she's like, I don't know, maybe at least one wouldn't be. And so it's not happening just because of her, but it's just creating that culture, which is cool. So she's ready to get back out there. So hopefully more to come next week on maybe we're coming off of her playing in a match next Tuesday, hopefully. So, and then Brenton had his warm up for archery heading into nationals. So he did that on Saturday, and then we ran down to good old Fairbury, Nebraska, home of the Red Hot Dogs.
That's right.
And bought him, went and supported local archery shop that's down there. And Brenton picked out and bought all his new stuff that he raised money for. So thanks to everybody who helped out with it. That was pretty awesome. He sold cookie dough. Lots of cookie dough. So, other than that, what about you?
Well, we're in the heat of track season, and so Elliot's running track, and Ronnie's running track, and so Friday we had a meet at home, invite meet, varsity only, and Elliot ran the 800. He was in the fastest heat for the 800. He was the slowest time registered for the event in this varsity meet, but in the fastest heat. So he was slated to get last in his heat, but he didn't. He ran a PR, and he really did good. And so super proud of him. Coming off injury, just talked to Brielle a little bit pre-show about her injury and just that whole process. So that's good. But yeah, track meet Friday. Saturday we didn't have anything planned except for a birthday party for some friends of my wife, and I got to go meet these friends for the first time. And it was kind of a neighborhood birthday party thing, and that was really cool to kind of branch out and get some new community. So shout out to them and happy birthday to Shannon.
And she
yeah,
could show off her new side piece.
yeah. What's crazy, I'm going to say this because I don't know, none of them listen to the show, but we go in there and she's told me about they're neighbors, they're old neighbors. They moved away and not like far away, just across town, but
Yeah.
they're not in the neighborhood anymore. But it was the neighborhood crew that used to get together, and so I got added to this new friend group because I live here now. So, but it was funny because there was like 3 couples there, and all of the other couples have been together a long time, but they won't get married.
Oh,
And so when I pull up and we just got married, they're like, "Wow, how did you get her to say yes? I've been trying for 18 years to get yes."
uh-oh.
But
So
no,
the other guys are all like, "Oh, great! Look what I have to."
But no, it was fun. And then Sunday, I talked about it last week. I got to go with my boys, 2 of my boys, to watch the Blazers' last game against the Lakers for Elliot's birthday. Elliot turned 17 on Sunday, and so we got to go celebrate his birthday. And a shout out to Dia Miller, who we had on the show. Brenton can tell you what episode, but she hooked me up with some of her old friends that work for the Blazers, and we got to meet the supervisor for the guest relations, and we got to meet a really cool door guy in Fletch, and got our seats upgraded. And so shout out to them, to the Blazers. Blazers put on a show. They won by 30 points, beat the Lakers. But yeah, we can segue into that if we want to, or save it. But it was a good weekend all in all. I got to spend time with the boys, got to spend time with my wife, and so I'm thankful for all of that. So
yeah, that's awesome. I mean, speaking of the Lakers, so you didn't get to see LeBron, is what I heard.
Yeah, so I mean, we anticipated and the term that we couldn't come up with last week.
Yes,
was load management.
Oh
load
my gosh,
management, and I totally get it. Okay, I get it to the point. Now, I don't necessarily get it in the NBA. You're playing 82 games over 10 months because NBA stretches everything out. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but not really.
Yeah.
October to May. And now the playoffs will last until, forever, July 4th or whatever.
Yeah, usually by the end of June, or O.J. Simpson's car chase.
Yeah, so I mean it's so long, but they don't play every night. I mean, I can understand load management for like MLB players, 162 games, every night and travel, but so load management, basketball is more physical. I get it. I get all those things. So we totally anticipated that LeBron and Luka wouldn't play. They've already clinched their 3rd spot in the West, and so. But we were there early to see them, just to see them. I wanted to see them in person. I wanted to see how big LeBron was in person, and they didn't even have the gall to show up.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about that, right? Like, and when Bree listens to this episode, hey, this is why we do it. You're there to support your team. You're supposed to be a team. Travel with the team. Unless you got a leg that's falling off and you can't travel. But yeah, load management at home, huh?
Well, no, they were on the road. I mean, it was in Portland.
I know, but they were load managing themselves at home. Yeah.
Yes. And so, like, just the week before, they were in Dallas, and that's where Luka used to play, obviously. So I just wonder, they probably just told Luka to close on his house or something and stay in Dallas for a few extra days, and LeBron could go home and get a few extra days rest since he's old and stuff. But yeah, we were a little disappointed we didn't at least see them in the building.
He makes a big deal about protecting his son. He can't even show up to watch his son.
Yeah, his son started. Bronny started.
Yeah.
And played a lot of minutes. I didn't check the box score to see how many minutes he played, but he had a decent stat line. I think he had almost a triple nickel is what we call it.
Triple nickel.
But yeah, he played solid. But the Blazers, they killed them. They came out and were just like, hey, we're going to play to win, and they did. They won by 30 points. So
Well, so you were there at the game, but one of the Blazers Delanto Banton or Blanton, was it Banton? No, hang on a second here. He's an ex-Husker. He scored like 23 points, I believe. I think that's what I saw. Hang on a second here.
Sunday he did?
Yeah. Delanto Banton, 23 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. Played for the Blazers.
Wow.
So, he's an ex-Husker. Plays for the Trailblazers.
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
good to know.
There's I thought there was another ex-Husker. He might be hurt. Oh yeah. Bryce McGowan. He sat out because he has fractured ribs. Okay. That's why you sit out.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. The one guy that kind of went off for the Blazers, his last name is Hooper.
Okay.
How do you not play basketball with the last name of Hooper?
That kind of went off? Like,
he had 26, 27 points in the game. He kind of went crazy. So, yeah. It was...
Yeah. I don't know. You should. You would think that you would. You should be scoring all the time with that last name.
Yeah. So yeah, it was fun. It was a good time, and like I told Deandra, I was texting her, and she was very helpful and I was very grateful for the connections that I made with her former coworkers and friends, and but I just told her, I joked with her. I said, yeah, this has been. We always love being at the games. You know, I joked with her. I said, I wish we could get a refund since they didn't even show up. But no, it was really good. And here's the thing. Here's a segue for you. I have a question to ask about being a fan at a game. So one of the things that they did at this game that I've never seen done at a game is they were sponsored by a donut shop in Portland. And
Voodoo Donuts?
No, it wasn't Voodoo. It was a different one. But they dropped donuts from the rafters, and I thought, they're just going to hand out gift certificates to go get a free donut at the shop, whatever. No, they had these donuts. No, they had in a baggie with a parachute.
Yeah.
Individual donuts were dropped from the ceiling at the game, and they probably dropped, I don't know, 150 donuts. I mean, throughout the whole crowd. So that was pretty cool to watch that take place. But
at the Husker basketball games, Chick-fil-A, they drop little cows from the top of their arena with parachutes, and it gives away free Chick-fil-A. Yeah, nice. Charlie, who owns the franchise here in town, is behind all that, I believe. So
yeah, that's cool.
He's a good guy.
That brings me to my question: as a fan, what do you look forward to as a fan going to a sporting event? And so, what made me think about this was when I've been to, you and I've worked golf tournaments, and we've been to golf tournaments, and we've seen different things. I've been to baseball. I thought about this, like at a baseball game, if you catch a foul ball, that's a pretty big deal. Golf tournaments, you can get a golf ball signed or a glove signed or things like that. Or, basketball games, if like Chick-fil-A things, Fairbury hot dogs out of the cannon, T-shirts, all the typical stuff. What is the greatest thing that can happen to you as a fan at a sporting event? What would be on a bucket list for a fan to experience at a sporting event?
At a sporting event, the recent trend that I've watched is getting my name selected to make a court-long putt into a hole at the other end of the baseline to win a car.
You did that?
No, I said I would love to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you're asking me if something has ever happened to me, I've probably gotten a T-shirt or something. But
yeah.
But like at sporting events, I think the fun thing would be
to be a part of the show.
Yeah, be a part of the show. Yeah. I think it'd be fun and entertaining just because it seems like everybody else seems to either get booed for. I'd like to interfere a ball in play in the MLB. I think, reaching over.
Yeah,
I mean, you
get interference.
Yeah, I think that would just be fun. Actually, catching a home run ball would be cool. Like you know, you
Yeah,
don't.
yeah,
You have to be in the right place.
yeah. So I mean, I'm with you. I think being a part, we went to
I
when
think
we
MLB might be the only thing like that.
it
Getting hit in the head with a puck at a hockey game.
that would be cool.
I mean, it would hurt, but heck,
Yeah, I
you're
mean,
you're going home.
we can probably share some stories about pretty cool fan experiences at games. But I remember going to a Stars game once. I think I was with your brother, and maybe not, but he'll correct me because he listens to the show. But um, we were sitting on the glass at a
Yeah.
Stars game, and I mean, pounding on the glass when there's a fight right in front of you.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was pretty cool. But I was with Jeff. I think it was Jeff. When we worked at Nelnet, we got tickets to the Salt Dogs.
Did you get the? You got the? Yeah, I remember.
We
this.
were in the box, but
Yeah,
then we also got tickets one time, and we were down right behind the dugout.
Okay.
And you know how big of a baseball fan I am, and I love going to baseball games. I've been going to baseball games all my life, and catching a foul ball or catching a ball from a game is up there on the list for me. And I'm like, there's the odds of that are just so slim. People don't realize it. You could pull up the guy that's caught like 900 balls.
Yeah, he figures out how to go.
He figures it out.
Yeah, he's.
But we were sitting at the game,
analytics.
and we were sitting close to the field, and this foul ball went back, and it hit off of the wall behind us, and came back down, and I caught it. And it was the first and the only foul ball I've ever caught at a ball game. But that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, being on national TV is fun.
You've had that happen.
I've had twice. I mean, just recently. I mean, if you can call MLB national TV, it's not national. It's extended cable TV. But I remember being on like a wide shot of an end zone when I went with Billy Conkling to the second Big 12 championship that Nebraska played Texas A&M. I mean, that would have been, geez, we probably are just started our friendship about that time, or a year in or so.
I remember you going to it. I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, there's a VHS copy that I have. Actually, I have it on DVD now. That if you pause it, you can see me wearing just nerdy Justin. Hey, what's going on? It's like right before halftime, or like right before half, and they're showing the band going out, and they're like panning, and Nebraska's destroying Texas A&M, and so yeah, being on TV is kind of fun. Being on TV when you don't know you're on TV, and especially nowadays when people can text you. Yeah, that was the crazy thing about this last time. Is like I'm just sitting there. Guy just got hit in the face with a ball. We're just, clapping because we're good fans because he's getting up and he's walking away and he kind of fist pumps the crowd. And then me and my three buddies' phones started blowing up. And like, we just saw you on TV. Well, I don't need to replay the story because we talked about it before, but that was kind of cool. That's kind of fun. People still talk about it at work today. They're like, You've been on TV again? And I'm like, I haven't even been to another Husker baseball game. So it's kind of fun. But fan experiences. I mean, back in the day, the number of times I was on the sideline for Husker football games, like with Gary and Rich Stansberry and Dick Stansberry back in the day, just getting you on the sidelines. Oh man, that's something else. Not a lot of people get to experience that. You tell people that you've been on the sidelines. And nowadays, it's hard to get on the sidelines. Like, you can go down there, and they really, they hold things back now. So I remember throwing balls to guys. Like, balls would come roll over when they're practicing, and just throwing a ball. Especially in the Callahan years, I remember that being a lot of times Becky and I would go, and there's a lot of pictures of us on the sideline, so that's kind of fun. Because you've done, plenty of times with the Stansberrys and
When you can get down close, it's pretty cool. I remember. So speaking of Billy Conkling, he and we got season tickets to Husker basketball for a couple seasons, and that was pretty fun to go together with that. And then there was one time, so when the assistant coach was going to our church, and I talked a little bit about that story, Mike Broughton, and his son came back to visit while he was in college, and I went to a game with his son, and we were sitting right behind the bench, and they were playing Texas Tech when Bobby Knight coached for Texas Tech. And so then we stayed after and got to go down in the tunnel and got to see Bobby Knight come out of the locker room and walk right past us. And I've told the story about being with Michael Downs and seeing, Roy Williams at the KU game and being right next to him and close to him. Those are cool places. I think still something like you said, getting into the show like in a basketball game or on the baseball field would be cool. Doing an event like that, doing a little game or whatever. I always think it would be fun to do the half court shot because I've practiced that. I mean, I've done that.
Do you think you would hit the rim under that pressure?
Absolutely,
Okay.
I would.
All
yeah.
right.
So yeah, that I would not be worried about. The guy at the Blazers game, they do it for Toyota, so it's for a car.
Yeah.
And he hit the side rim but they said only one person had won a car this year. I mean, it's hard to do. I'm not saying I would make it, but I would be close. I wouldn't airball
definitely
it.
hit rim. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So,
well, cool, man. Yeah, though. I mean, being in the Midwest, you're limited to how many times you can get to a major sporting event too if you're not traveling a lot. So,
right.
I mean, for as much as I've experienced, I feel, pretty blessed about it and doing stuff like that. So, throwing out a first pitch, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Do you think you would you 50 Cent it and hit some guy, the cameraman, or would you bounce it there and would you do what the gymnast did and did the little twirl and flip and then throw the ball? Like, which route would you go?
I mean, so when I played baseball, I was a pitcher.
Yeah.
And now that I'm old, I wouldn't, because you always talk about, well, do you go up to the rubber or do you stay down below? I just think my pride is so diminished now that I would want to at least be in the ballpark. So I probably wouldn't go up to the rubber at this point in my life. I would just pitch from the dirt and call it good,
Yeah, leave the famous first pitches or throw out the first pitch to Bush when he threw out during 9/11 during that Subway Series. Like, that was one of those moments that they, after 9/11 they came back and then you just threw that pitch right down the down the pike. Like, okay, nobody else should be doing this anymore. We'll just leave that moment alone.
Yeah, and you talk about pressure. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
But then he's also, former owner of the Rangers. So, I mean, he's been around baseball his life too.
He's probably been punched by Nolan Ryan before. So
probably, yeah.
So, well, good. Yeah, that's kind of fun reminiscing about those kind of things. But yeah,
I would be remiss if we didn't somewhat recap the Masters a little bit. I don't know if you watched at all the Masters this weekend or this week. What'd you think about Rory winning the career Grand Slam?
I think it's cool. I said at the beginning, I was at my friend's house watching it. I got there right when the last group teed off, so I watched most of it at his place before I had to take the kids to youth group, and which was the best part of my time in my time zone. It was when everything was happening, so I was like on my phone. Everybody close your ears. I was on my phone driving, watching this and watching it happen. I'm sitting in the back part of the parking lot watching the rest of it. But yeah, I think it was cool to see him get it. I'm happy for him. I just said I wanted something close when I walked into my buddy's basement and sat down, and I was like, and then Rory comes out with a double. He came out with a was it a bogey right away or a double bogey maybe?
Mm-hmm. Double.
And I was like, oh great, this is gonna get really close because I suspected Bryson to kind of just stay, and then he just kind of fell apart, right? And then, but as the other group, like Rose and them were just, pushing. Oberg was, pushing there for a little bit until he got that last couple holes. He didn't do well, but yeah, it was interesting. But then when he missed that putt, I was like, you got to be kidding me, Rory! You're missing these putts, and Bree was with me in the car, and she just kept on saying, "Why do you even care about these guys?" And I was like, "Why do you even care? Like, why are you even watching this?" I'm like, "Cause, like, these guys, I can't do this stuff. Like, I can't drive it that far. I don't. I think I can make that putt, but not on those type of greens.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like putting on concrete, right? You just
Mm-hmm.
tap it, and the ball just takes off. But it's just like I thought he was gonna lose it right there. I was like, there's no way he's gonna pull himself through this on the playoff holes, but. He came in with that shot and just put it right there, and then he had the same kind of length that he had missed, and he just like, screw it, I'll just make it and we'll be done. So
Well, and I was listening to Tony Kornheiser this morning as well, and from yesterday's show, and he was talking to Steve Sands from the Golf Channel, and um, Tony was like, "Hey, when he got over that putt in the playoff, were you hoping he would miss it, or were you thinking he's going to miss it again?" And it's like, yeah, you thought he was going to miss it again because he did it before, but the reality of it is that's the difference between, like you just said, we can't do what they do. Not
yeah,
to mention the fact that number one hole when he first on Thursday he gets out there and he goes 371 on the first hole drive down the middle. I mean,
yeah,
now Bryson DeChambeau, he's known for this, but Rory he rips 370 like it's no big deal and like it's normal.
dude,
And
he's
there's
5'8". Like that's what people kept on saying. He is 5'8".
yeah,
It's like
it's crazy. It's crazy what they're able to do with the golf ball. And but then this is what's the difference is he went down 18. He hits a huge drive. He's got a gap wedge in his hand, and he hits the worst wedge of his life. And then makes bogey and then goes to the playoff. Then the first playoff hole rips the same drive. His opponent puts it within 12 feet, which is a makeable putt to win the tournament.
he put it where he needed to based off of where the green says you should be.
Yep, and then Rory has the same exact club in his hand that he just jimmy yanked,
Yep.
10 minutes ago, and he hits it within 2 feet. And
Yep,
that's
3
that's
feet.
the difference. Is there's no emotion to it. That's golf. You have to be robotic,
Yep.
and he was robotic when it mattered the most, and that's why he's one of the greatest to ever play the game.
Yeah, I was happy to see him win it, but I wanted the more of the narrative from golf people with like Bryson and Rory, towards down the end.
Yeah.
Just because of the two dynamics of the two types of players. One, they're big hitters, but two, one is a live golf, and one's PGA, and one's been ostracized, and people are just whoever. I mean, everybody has their opinions on both sides about each person. So I thought that would have been a cool storyline if it got to be like, to hole 15 and they were still neck to neck. But after the front nine, Bryson just, he said afterwards, he's like, I just don't know. I just wasn't hitting my shots. Like
and that's what Steve Sands said on the Golf Channel. He just said Bryson was in contention and didn't play his A game at all. He was
100%.
he could not hit it in the fairway, but he was chipping and putting like crazy all week, and it cost him in the last day. But Rory had the most double bogeys of any major champ to win a major.
Was it the most or tied? Because I think it was 4 double bogeys, right?
4 double bogeys in the Masters, the most to win the Masters.
Right.
And he was playing typical Rory golf, and like Jack Nicklaus said earlier in the week when he sat down with dinner for him a couple weeks ago, this will be a legendary story forever. He went shot for shot over 72 holes with Rory about how he was going to manage the course, and he listened. He didn't say a word the entire time Rory talked to him. And as soon as he got done, he said, "That's exactly what I would do."
Yeah.
And Steve Sands said, Jack Nicklaus is in their place while they're doing the broadcast, coming down 18, and Rory lays up, or not 18, coming down 13. Right? Was it 13 the par 5 or 15 the par 5 where he hit it in the water?
I don't remember, but
13. He
13,
hits it.
yeah.
He hits it in the water on his third shot because he laid up.
Yeah.
And Rory never lays up. And they asked Jack Nicklaus afterwards, when you went over this with him, 2 weeks ago, he goes, that's exactly what he said he was going to do. He was going to lay up on Sunday on 13, and he never lays up because he's going to set himself up to stay within himself and get a birdie and get the stroke that he needed to win. And then he just, again, the Masters has a way of bringing suspense to the final round, so there's drama, and that's what happened. I mean, he hit 2 wedges that these guys at their level should never miss.
Yep.
And he hits 2 of the worst wedges he's ever hit in his life on Sunday of the Masters.
Yep. I would crap my pants too.
Yeah. But that's a bucket list, I think, for everybody who plays golf.
Yeah.
Augusta National is a bucket list, whether it's to go or play or both or one or the other. It doesn't matter.
It's one of those things too that, like, no matter if you're a sports fan or not, which I know that this episode sounds like it's just been a sports episode, but I think the Masters brings in a lot of people because it's just everybody. That's always been a one that's been on TV. It's, there's nothing really else going on. You can put it on late in the afternoon and watch it, and take your nap if you need to. But I think it just brings in the suspense. I think it has a cool narrative that, there's no cell phones at the Masters. So what you see is, untouched, King Griffey Jr. is taking the famous shot of Rory laying on the ground, like on his knees. I don't know if you saw that picture, but King Griffey Jr. he's a professional photographer who got credentials to go to the Masters. So that there's a famous photo, or there's going to be this famous photo, that first photo of Rory laying, down after he makes that putt. He's down on all fours. That's taken by King Griffey Jr. of all people.
Wow.
Fun little story. But yeah, I think it's just, it's cool. Everybody kind of talks about it for a little bit. So
yeah, and I think you're right. I think the major sporting events bring in the casual fan and bring in just the general public, and the Masters is one of those things. It doesn't matter what all 4 majors in golf, 4 majors in tennis, the World Series, the Super Bowl, all of these things that bring in the casual fan. People are watching, and that's what I heard somebody say again on that other podcast. It was just that I hope the ratings reflect how really cool of an event the Masters really is. And
and for a while there, some people probably turned it off because Rory was up.
Yeah.
And then he kind of had his moment too, right?
Yeah. So he was up 4 going into the back 9 on Sunday.
Yeah.
So that's a huge lead for the Masters, and he choked it away.
I also think too, because people think with their stomachs, they hear stories about the Masters. You can still get an egg salad sandwich or something for $1.50.
$2.25 or $1.50. Yep.
Yeah, you can get beers for $5. I said that to my buddy's wife, who was sitting there watching it with us. Like, his wife and daughters were watching golf with us in the basement. Like, they never talk about golf.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there talking about it, and I said, we were talking about the prices, and I was like, yeah, you can get a beer for $5 or a soda or whatever. And they pan to this guy in the crowd, and he's got this stack of pops. He probably anywhere else would have cost him thousands of dollars, and he's probably like, yeah, it's just $100.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. But
yeah. Well, there's things that put people in history when it comes to sports, and so as we think about putting your place and your stamp on history, there's another article that we came across that we need to talk about too. And I know this rubs your crawl a little bit because you're a Husker fan, but I read this quote today by Travis Hunter being interviewed as the NFL draft comes up, and he's the wide receiver, DB, Heisman Trophy winner. And he says, if I can't play both ways, offense and defense, I will quit football.
Well, you can do that now because you made all your money in college.
That's true. That is true. And that's a whole other topic of discussion. But that quote made me think, is he better than his coach was?
I mean,
my son asked me, and I just asked you a question, didn't let you answer. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
Let me ask the follow-up, and then I'll let you give your 2 cents. Is he better than his coach? But his coach really only went both ways towards the end of his career, kind of as a stunt. But And then my son made the argument that he's overrated anyway because he wasn't even the best DB or receiver and he still won the Heisman. So my question is he better than his coach? But what's your take on Travis Hunter with this quote?
Yeah. So I think the quote is because I think nowadays, because of development of kids can be better because they have more access to, camps and, all these different things that maybe Dion didn't have. I could say that I could see Hunter could be better. The amount of plays he played at Colorado per game is nuts.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of times that he load management himself a few times in the game, so he didn't have to take a hit.
But load management when you're playing not just 98% of one side of the ball, you're playing all 98% of the snaps in a football game at the highest level. Load management when you can kind of jog on a route.
Yeah, no, I get you.
You're allowed that.
Yeah, I think this is kind of playing into what he's letting NFL teams know that he's serious about playing, because a lot of people are saying he's better off going in as a DB and be a higher draft stock as a DB, because he'd probably be a better number 3 wide receiver, in a sense, because I think you'd get better play that way, because you can make a lot of good money as a number 3 wide receiver versus being a number 3 DB.
Absolutely.
So I think you go in as a DB, but you have to. But I think that's what he's trying to say. Reading between the lines, I think that's where he's coming from.
I don't disagree with you. I think that's exactly what he's trying to say, reading between the lines. But what I tried to tell my son too, because he's like, he wasn't even the best DB on the league. He wasn't the best receiver. And I said, yeah, but those ones that had more stats didn't have the attention, and they weren't playing 98% of all snaps in the game.
Yeah.
And they were probably at a smaller or a bigger school where they're the only target.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's so many different factors. And he's like, well, why didn't they just double? Then they don't get all the things that he was arguing with me. But here's the thing. I agree with you that he could go be a shutdown top 1 or 2 corner and make money. But you can be a Hall of Famer in the NFL as a slot receiver.
Yep.
And still, so I think he can do both. And
I think he will.
Yeah, I think he can be good at both. And I just, there's been talk. He even said this when he was in college, and I got to throw this plug in there. I mean, there's talk of him going to Denver. I don't know that he drops that far in the draft to go to Denver, but he says he would love to stay in Colorado his whole career. And I mean, you think about what they've done on the defensive side of the ball in the offseason, then you add his skill level to the offensive side of the ball. I mean, I would not be a good Bronco fan if I didn't say, hey, bring him. Bring him on.
Well, so, yeah, I think he's a generational. I think he's one of those players that you will talk about for the next 10 years, because I think he's got the talent. And I'm not doubting that just because he plays for Colorado. Him off the field, is entertaining to listen to. He had his own podcast, and the things that he said about Nebraska, he said nice things about Nebraska during his time here. Is one of the loudest places he played at. I mean, he didn't have great stats against Nebraska when he played here, which was probably good for us. So, but I mean, he just seems like a genuine guy. He's got all the attention, and he's not, he seems to kind of, not down to earth, but he's very confident in what he does. And so I think, like I said, I think he's going to turn into one of those guys. I think he almost has to, because at the hype that he's received, the Dion hype, right? Like, is he going to be as Dion? The hype that he's getting now is kind of the hype that Dion's had created over the years that Dion was Dion.
Yeah.
So
no, you're absolutely right about that, and that's the next question you ask is, to this point, the number 2 and number 12 are both being retired for Colorado football. Which I didn't see you add this to the show notes until later on, and I'm just like, I wouldn't say I'm a closet Buffs fan. I've followed him because Dion's there and he's been fun to watch, and I used to cheer for the Buffs anyway, but this is ridiculous. Can I just say that? This is ridiculous. This is so the factor of Dion emphasized, but you'd put in the notes officially untouchable, and I don't like that because it's college and there's 94 players on the roster.
That was actually from the Colorado Buffaloes football Twitter or X. It says number 2 and number 12 officially untouchable,
and that won't be the case. We all know that. I mean, they're just numbers. But
I know,
and they're not even
so silly.
They're not even the best players to ever play at Colorado.
I know, that's the funniest. I mean, okay, Hunter, he won a Heisman. Okay,
yes,
cool.
Yes,
I get that. But the quarterback who shares the coach's last name, who was the starting quarterback for a team that won 13 and 12 in 2 seasons. I don't have this stuff memorized. I looked it up before this, so I don't like them that much. And they didn't even win their bowl game. So do like at the stadium, are they going to put up a banner that says, number 2, number 12, and then the other one says "Lost the Alamo Bowl"? Because I mean, might as well at this point.
Well, I mean, it's similar to. Yeah, I mean they're going to be officially untouchable, just like UCF is the unofficial national champs when Scott Frost went undefeated there, and crowned them, gave all the players rings and all this stuff. I mean, come on, you can give moral victories, and I'll never be somebody that has a jersey retired or make a Hall of Fame or a Wall of Fame or anything like that, but. This is ridiculous. I'm sorry. This is a media stunt. This is a spring game stunt.
It's to keep their name out there. It's one of those things.
It is keeping their name out there, which again,
and we're talking about it on our podcast that is worldwide.
Yeah, it is worldwide. So it is. But speaking of retirement, let's segue into this news of one of our favorite bands is coming back.
Bleach. There's an announcement made this week that Bleach in October is coming back for a show that's going to be played. I think it's going to be, is it Alabama, I believe?
Yeah.
Alabama. Coming out of retirement. One of these bands that Jeff and everybody, Jeff and I and others, and helped promote a show in Lincoln one time, and BJ and Jerry and Jeff and I went to Nashville to watch that benefit concert memorial thing that they did. It's kind of exciting. It jokingly in our group text message is like, we're gonna have to bring Bleach on our podcast. And so, if anybody's got connections, now, you know what it is on social media. You're friends with people on social media. I am going to reach out. I've been friends with these guys on social media for some time. And so hopefully I can maybe send them a message and see if one of them would like to come on our podcast and see, even if they reminisce about, time on the road, or if they even remember coming through the Midwest, or even talk about that the benefit concert they had. That was a good friend of theirs that they lost. So yeah, I don't know. We're gonna have fun with it, and I'm gonna try to reach out and see if we can make it. But they probably have bigger and better things than this worldwide podcast. But
I mean, they might, but they might not, and they might come on anyway. I mean, we had Kenny Schweitzer on before his release, and he's kind of just taken off and exploded. So no credit to us for that, but he's done a great job, and he's doing some awesome things at his tour, and just had his baby, and so shout out to them as well. But yeah, I think bringing Bleach out of retirement is a really cool thing, and kudos. I mean, Jeff was our connection in that Nashville trip, and we talked about that a little bit. And so anybody from Bleach that wants to come on, Brian Olson, we've reached out from Voda, Casting Pearls fame. Now, the
On
Voice,
The Voice,
and now he's touring on a cruise ship. I mean, and then his buddy Case, right? I mean, so any of
these people that used to be a part of
Remedy
the Lincoln Remedy Drive, like, man, these people are like, how long ago was this? Now, keep in mind, the Bleach show was 21 years ago.
Wow.
2004, August 11th, 2004. My sister sent us pictures after that episode aired of our lanyards that we handmade for the people that were helping us at the show. What a mismatch of promotion, but we had fun with it. We pulled off a good show. But yeah, my sister sent that, and on the back of it, we probably could have done better with our stuff. But this is before we had computers that did everything for us. But
yeah,
this is before Canva or before Photoshop.
So that show you just referenced was the show in Lincoln?
That was the August 11th one?
Yeah.
The farewell tour? That's the one we did at St. Mark's.
Okay. So when was the show we went to Nashville?
What date?
Well, like what year was it?
Dude, okay, so here's the thing about that. I was talking about this, and I was listening to the episode to find the spots that Jeff and me and you were talking about that trip. There are parts of that trip I do remember, but then there's other parts I'm like, I remember going with you, but then I also don't remember I remember that part, but I don't remember you being there. Like, we went to the movie theater at the Grand Ole Opry Mall. I remember the movie, but I don't remember who was sitting around me. Like, I don't know what it was about that trip. I don't know when that concert was.
Okay.
It was.
Well, I was there at the movies with you. I remember.
I know this. It was one of those. I don't know. Maybe it's just one of those things that I remember the hotel we stayed at because we stayed in the suburb of Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
It was I think it was Franklin, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember that, and I remember the drive. I remember flying in, our connecting flight was in Milwaukee. I remember all these weird little things, but then there's points I couldn't tell you where we ate food.
Oh, I can.
I can't remember this, and I'm a food guy.
We ate at that right before the movie. We went to a restaurant there in the mall. It was, I think, the Gibson restaurant.
Okay, so the Gibson Guitar restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
We're all sitting around and we all ordered tea because this was before the sweet tea craze for us, really.
Yeah.
But we said, can we get some sweet tea? And they're like, that's the only kind we have. And we're just blown away by that, being from the Midwest, and then we're in the South. But that tea at that restaurant, I still remember that tea. That was some sweet tea. That was awesome.
Yeah. So, there are things about that I don't know what it was.
You've been through a lot. It's okay.
Well, yeah, I don't know what it was about that my brain just I don't remember. There's things like that. Becky was like, well, where'd you guys go? And I'm like, I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah.
And I re-listened to that episode, and I remember saying, well, hey, BJ, I was there too. And because I remember thinking that when you were talking to Jeff, you were just talking about you, Jeff, and Jerry. And I was like, hang on a second. I think I was at that one because I remember being there.
Yeah, it was you. It was
I know it was because I like I said, I don't really remember any of the other little details except for because we went to church.
Mm-hmm.
We went that Sunday. We went to Jeff's at that
church.
school. It was in the back part of. I remember that. I remember sitting in the chair. They're just normal plastic chairs, if I remember correctly, or folding chairs or something like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything. To March I just found it. You were asking me about that benefit for Aaron Mars Memorial Fund.
Yeah.
March 13th, 2005.
So a year later.
A year later.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was the show that we're standing there, and I'm standing next to Toby Mac, and I didn't realize it. I believe also, I could be wrong, but I think they became. Now I can't even think of the guy's name, the band's name. I'm drawing a blank. The guy that sings Sadie Hawkins Dance.
Reliant K?
Reliant K. Weren't they at that same show?
I'm pretty sure.
Because he just went through a transition with band members, and he was playing like 3 different instruments at once, and he was kind of a one-man show that night. And I just remember
I wish I could find the lineup for that show.
Yeah, Reliant K. That's who it was.
Yeah, Sadie Hawkins Dance.
Sadie Hawkins Dance. Yeah. I had my kids listen to that not too long ago, and I'm sitting there just jamming out to this, and my son looks at me and goes,
like,
Dad,
this is
you're
the
weird.
dumbest song ever. Yeah, it makes me think about the stuff that we used to listen to back in the day. Like what kids actually think about it now, and I'm like, I don't really care, but
like those reels of the guy turning the CD. That was you. I mean, you had your seat reclined all the way back with your CD case that had 2,000 CDs in it, changing the CDs out.
Yeah, you gotta drive with your knee and change the CDs. That's how you do it. So, but yeah, no, yeah. I need to see if I can find that that concert to find out who was there. But yeah, I like I said, I didn't remember what year it was. Like Becky and my dad and my mom were asking me about it, and I couldn't remember the date, and I was like, I know I was there. I remember being there. I remember little things, and then yeah. So that concert, I just found it. It had Reliant K, Bleach, John Rubin.
Oh yeah,
John Rubin was there. Let's see here. There was so many people because they like some people would just come up and do like one thing and then they would move on. Yeah. Let's see here if I can pick up. But yeah, no, John Rubin was the other one. He was pretty popular right then and there.
Yeah, that was cool. That was a good show. That was a good trip and a fun show for sure. But
I couldn't even tell you what the venue was. I remember kind of where it was at is in the middle of downtown Nashville.
It was
like
kind
of off street.
Yep.
Like I remember the building, but I don't remember. Yeah, I don't know. This is my brain. Yeah, you would think I've been kicked by a mule or something. So maybe I have. So
yeah.
So yeah, well, hopeful. Maybe we bring them on, and then they're just like, you guys should come down, and then they're like, we'll send our private jets, and then we'll be like, all right, cool, we'll do it. We'll do it. No, that would be cool to see them. I don't even know if, like I said, they haven't played together. I mean, they all play music and do stuff together now, but 15 years is a long time.
It is a long time.
Probably not jumping and rocking out like they used to. You probably fall apart, muscle. But anyways, yeah. So that's the fun recent news that we've come across recently. So, but yeah. Anything else? Anybody else has anything else that they want to throw out for interviews or interview ideas? We say this all the time. Email us.
Yeah.
3dayoldpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you want to hear about. Otherwise, we'll just keep on bringing in what we like. And like this episode, we'll probably have people say, all you guys did was talk sports. Well,
it's our podcast, and so
yeah,
we can talk about whatever we want. If you hate on our takes, just wait till it's been 3 days. And yeah, so
yeah, and we had other things on our plate tonight, but I think we're in a good spot.
I do too, and I think there's things about our show that have been so good, not just because we share story. People love our stories, I think they don't mind us talking sports when there's stories involved, and so that's cool. But the premise of our podcast is the relationships and the relationship that we have with one another and with our friends, and so I'm thankful for that. So yeah, we got some stuff in the works, some interviews. We need to have your sister on. Michael needs to join us.
She has to pay me more money than she's paying me now.
Well, she's our MVP emailer to the mailbag that's brought to you by Thelander Leadership Consulting. Get all your bookkeeping needs handled. This is tax day when we're recording this, and people ask me, what do you do? Your name doesn't tell us what you do. So here's a little plug for the business that sponsors our mailbag. So thank you to Michael for emailing us and being an active participant in the mailbag. The number 3, dayoldpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know the stories, the interviews you want to hear. Michael's going to be on. We got to have her on. We need to have her on in the next 3 weeks. So let's put a deadline on it.
We'll put that on there. We just need to. Unfortunately, she works a lot of Tuesday nights, so we might have to. We'll have to work around finding a night to record that differently. But yes, we'll get it on our show list of dates and people.
Sounds good. And
we'll block it out.
We got a couple others, but we want to have if we can get a hold of the Bleach people, or Brian Olson, or anybody from Casting Pearls, Voda era.
Yeah, they're always going to be casting pearls to us.
Yep, for sure. So
Casting Crowns ruined that for them.
Yep. That's a whole other story. See, we need to have them on and tell that story of going to the music festival in Estes Park and losing to them and all that stuff. But anyway, yeah. So Thelander Leadership Consulting sponsoring the mailbag. What do? We offer bookkeeping services to anybody that needs bookkeeping service. If you're a small business owner, you're a big business owner, it doesn't matter. You need your books kept, and you need them kept professionally. And so call us, 217-209-2439, Thelander Leadership Consulting. Talk to the owner directly and get a bid. We'll give you a deal. I'm running a special right now, first 6 months for 50% off, so give us a call, especially right after tax season. Get your books in order, ready for next year so you don't get slammed. So
knowing the owner, and he just gave out his phone number.
I did, yeah.
And you can reach him on any of his socials.
Yep.
That
MySpace, LinkedIn.
Actually, let's give him the real ones. You have Facebook and you have Instagram.
Look for us at Thelander Leadership Consulting on Facebook and Instagram, and you can find us there and reach out to us.
And as his friend, just don't text or call him when he's on a date. He doesn't like it. You can send all the reels that you want, because at that point he should have figured out how to turn off his notifications.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
So it's been a good show. What do you have coming up in the next few days, Justin? I know we got a big holiday coming up this weekend. You got big plans?
Easter's upon us. Just being of the church, in the church. It's Easter weekend, so it is busy around Connecting Point. This is our last Easter at this property. It's tier, right? We are officially moving at the beginning of May, is kind of what we've already told the congregation, so I guess we have to follow through with it. But yeah, so two services that I'll be involved in. So our family will be at church from probably sun up to sundown, because that's what it seems like. And then my niece has a birthday this weekend on Sunday, and then just kind of hanging out.
Good.
I would assume that something similar to you, Easter service at the church, and probably adult Easter egg hunts, right?
Well, they are having a kid Easter egg hunt this Sunday.
Aren't they adult ones full of money?
That would be cool. I'd like to find a money egg. That would be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have since moving to Oregon, my ministry, my Easter Sundays have been different ever since moving out here.
Mm-hmm.
Which at first was a kind of a cool change of pace, but I miss it. I miss being involved on Easter Sunday. But this weekend we have a retirement party for our pastor. Saturday, his last Sunday is Easter Sunday. What a way to go out! We could talk about that next week, maybe.
Yeah.
He's going out after Easter Sunday after 18 years of pastoring this church, and like I said last week, I think about 40 years in ministry, and so we get to celebrate him on Saturday, and then Easter Sunday service on Sunday, and it's going to be a good day. We have
Yeah. Are you having Easter lunch at the house, or do you guys do traditional Easter lunch? I mean, this is your first Easter together. Have you talked about this? Have you
we have not talked about this.
thought about bread yet?
There will
Just
probably be homemade rolls made, I would assume. I don't know that for sure. She makes a lot of homemade breads, and speaking of that, I think we're having runzas tomorrow, homemade runzas tomorrow for
shout
dinner.
out!
So
Did you show her that? Did you show her that recipe that I sent you from the news article from like the 50s?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you should show her that.
Okay.
That's how you make it.
Yeah.
But she has a version of it that she was making
like
before she even met you.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's a German dish,
Yeah.
and so yeah, there's some German ties. So yeah, she made this thing. She goes, I have these things that we make, and she called them hamburger things, is what they called them. And she brought me some one night when we were friends, and she was feeding me because I was almost homeless and all the things. And she goes, "Would you like one?" I said, "Sure. What is it?" And she goes, "Well, it's just kind of this bread pocket with hamburger in it." I said, "Oh, do you put cabbage or sauerkraut in it and cheese?" She goes, "No, but that sounds amazing." I said, "Yeah, you're making runzas is what you're making."
I remember you telling me this exact, like when it was happening. You're like,
Yeah.
she brought me over this, and it's a runza. She has no idea.
She had no idea how she just made my life.
Yeah.
And so we've renamed them. So we've compromised on the name. And
Runza things?
They are hamburger hot pockets.
Hamburger hot pockets. Really original, people.
Yeah, really original.
Yeah,
we couldn't do runzas. They're actually the German name. Bierock is the German name for what they are. But I think
you should call them beer things.
I am biased, but Heidi makes the best runza I've ever had. So
yeah, well, that just tells you haven't had a good one lately.
No,
actually, I don't think they're as good as they used to be.
Right. So I'm getting the best of the best. So I'm thankful for that.
Well, maybe she should start making them and freezing them and sending them to me then.
Yeah,
with rolls and bread. I'll just put it in order real quick, and we'll go from there.
You know, she talks about doing simple dinners and stuff, and I'm like, this is not a simple dinner. She goes, this is very simple. I said, no, it's not.
Well, Merry Easter. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter, Merry Easter. He is risen. He is risen indeed. Oh, I think we're going to a Good Friday. Are you going to any Holy Week services?
I am not, unfortunately. No. Okay. No. Yeah. Are you going to judge me in the podcast now?
No. Not at all.
Hold me to the fire.
So tomorrow's Wednesday, then you have Monday, Thursday. Some people celebrate.
Oh, tomorrow's Wednesday. Yeah, you said Wednesday. Yep.
But then Good Friday service, always a special time of year, and Holy Week, and then you have Saturday, which Silent Saturday. So that means you're not supposed to talk all day Saturday as we wait for the tomb to be opened.
I could probably do that. I don't think so.
I won't be able. We're celebrating Elliot's birthday on Saturday with our dinner with him, so it'll be good with the kids.
I'll probably be doing yard work on Saturday.
There you go.
It's like my only day to do yard work. Actually, we'll probably have like Easter practice for worship that day all day. It probably seems like, since we're running 2 services. So
yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So happy Easter week.
Yep. Happy Easter week.
Merry Easter week. Growing up in the church, like you said, you don't experience when you came out there, you weren't a senior pastor. So yeah, that was hard to not be a part of that motion. And then, and to me, I'm like, it seems just like the same for all these years. I'm used to waiting to the last minute to do a lot of things and run around and planning for the additional people that are going to show up.
Yep, the last Easter I preached was Easter of 2021, so this will be the 4th year I have not preached on Easter Sunday.
Well, maybe next week you can record us. Maybe you can preach next week, and we can just put it on. We're going to get into some leadership conversations.
We are. Yep.
I think it's important. Our work in leadership venting, we're going to get there. We're both kind of in that season, but it didn't fit this episode, so we're going to get there. We have some things that we're going to be real about. So, but anyways. We're not going to bring this episode down at the end.
No. Here's where I want to leave us. Thanks for the time this week. But if you're listening and you are a believer and you're going to celebrate this week, and even if you're not, pray for your pastor this week. It is a very big week for them. Pray for your pastor. Pray for your church leaders, and go and worship and celebrate our risen Savior. So
yeah, and pray for those people who are looking to invite somebody that they're reaching out, or they have been reaching out. This is that season where people, they feel comfortable like saying, hey, you come visit.
Yeah.
And it's one of those weeks and people are asking, where do you go?
Yep.
Like it's those other people who are like standing out and saying, this is where I go to church. Yeah, come visit, or they're stepping out and saying, hey, you should come with us. And that can, depending on where you're at, that's hard. That can be challenging.
Yeah.
And those are the people that need it. So yeah, if you're listening and you're doing that, bring them on, bring them somewhere. That's all they need. All they need is an invite.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. 80% of people start going to church because somebody invited them. 80%. So,
and I think it's 82.356. If you feed them lunch, they come back.
There you go. If you feed them, they will come. That's the Sandlot Youth Ministry philosophy. Yeah.
So, but yeah, no. So yeah. Happy Easter week, man.
Yep.
Happy Easter week. So, all right.
It's been a good week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. So here's to a lack of communication of irrelevant age news. We'll see you next time.
See you later.